G'day, we are talking Redarc TowPro Elite V3 today. This is an N70 Hilux and we've just fitted our Redarc tow controller. It's mounted down here. And just a couple of things here that you really probably want to have a think about if you're installing this. There's lots of videos on YouTube. This is the product, the Redarc TowPro Elite V3. This is the 12 or 24 volt version. You can just buy a 12 volt version, which is a little cheaper. Pretty simple to install. But one of the things you'll find in other reviews of this, and what I want to specifically target today, not only the installation on an N70 Hilux, but also the accessories you can get with this, because a lot of videos will, in my humble opinion, and it is only my personal opinion, they will give you a little bit of a bum steer. That's my opinion. You can disagree with it. That's fine. So, Redarc TowPro Elite V3 on the N70 Hilux. First things first, you might legitimately ask why I would put a TowPro tow controller, brake controller of any description on an N70 Hilux. And that is because, if you know anything about the N70 Hilux, the N70 Hilux doesn't have the world's biggest tow capacity. Nowadays, brake controllers are very, very common. You know, only maybe, 2 generations of you to go, go back pre-D40 Navara and N70 Hilux, MN Triton. Things didn't have a big tow rating. I frequently found things with tow ratings below 2 tons. And then all of a sudden when we hit D40, MN, RC Colorado, etc., things start to hit 2.5, 3 tons. So why would you do it to the Toyota? The reason I asked that question is because this only has a 2.5 ton tow rating and the auto is less. And to get to use electric brakes in Australia, you don't need electric brakes below 2 tons, but over 2 tons you need an electric brake controller. This is only capable of pulling 2.5. So why would I put the brake controller on it? Easy answer, I love electric brakes. I've converted all my trailers over. I had a couple of trailers that were still on, manual brake, and have converted them over. Electric brakes are way better, and so it just makes sense. And look, I agree. I think the consensus view is that the Redarc TowPro Elite has a heap of advantages, and it's becoming kind of the standard in Australia. So that makes sense. It's really easy to install. There's only 4 wires. Very, very, very simple. Not really a big deal. If you've got any sort of auto electrical knowledge, you'll be able to do it. Simple. It learns itself on how to set itself as you drive along. After you've connected your trailer, it'll figure out how it needs to be set, or you could convert it to a manual setting. That's up to you. So to install in an N70 Hilux, pretty simple, but there's 2 things that you probably want to be aware of, and that is accessories. So if you have a look at YouTube videos, there's a lot of videos covering the TowPro Elite V3 and the accessories, and the accessories that people are buying are the blank plate to stick it in your dash so it looks all factory, and the wiring harness, the vehicle-specific wiring harness. And the vehicle-specific wiring harness is pretty expensive. I bought my TowPro Elite pretty well off an online retailer having a big sale, so I got it a bit below the retail price, but the wiring harness for the N70 Hilux would have, and the factory blank plate would have doubled my purchase cost. Literally, I was going to install it myself, but those 2 accessories would double my purchase price in. So that's something you really want to take into account when fitting a brake controller. And I will concede that getting the wiring harness, will make the installation easier. It'll make it faster. There's no doubt about that at all. However, the wiring harness, you have 4 wires coming out of this thing. You've got power, you've got the 2 that go to the back, you've got your brake input wire, and then your brake output wire, you've got an earth. They're your wires. It's not a complicated system. So you're a base, and one of them's an earth, which you'll mount very close to the brake controller. One goes to the one wire will go to the battery, which is the black wire. Red and blue go down, you either go down the back, or you pick up your tow input wire here, and then you run your brake input wire down the back, or you tap into your factory loom. So the real, even if you run wires down the back of the car, you've got a short trip down the front for your 12 volt, and then 2 wires are going to go down the back of your car if you choose to pick up your brake input signal from your tail lights and then plug into your harness for your trailer down the back. If you choose to do it that way, you've got 2 wires you're going to have to run the length of the car. That's it. The earth wire you're not going to need to touch. You'll be able to just mount that. It's got a length that's quite adequate to mount it near your brake controller. And then your 12 volt I needed a very short extension to put the fuse. I just had a length of wire with a fuse on it, whacked it in, easy. Now with some of them you'll get a factory grommet where you stick it through the firewall. Okay, that might be useful, and a bit of split tubing. I did run down the back of the car, so I put it in split tubing. Also makes it a bit easier, in my opinion, to remove it if I choose to sell the vehicle and take the brake controller with me. And it'll make it reasonably universal to any car that I purchase. But for split tubing, bit of wire, you're talking, $10 of material, if that. I reckon it certainly did take me a bit longer to install it without the kit, but you're talking maybe, an hour at best in additional time. And considering the wiring loom was, what was it, about $200 for the N70 Hilux, for the fact that it cost me an extra hour, best case scenario, to wire this in myself and make the loom myself, it's no brainer. Like if your time's worth $100 an hour, okay, it's still going to be better off, but it's not going to be as big. But for something I was going to do on the weekend, that only took do it in the morning, like. It's just not. I do see no value in the factory wiring kits. For the cost that they are, and some of them are more expensive than that. I wouldn't do it. I'd buy that, and that's all I would buy. I think that's completely sufficient for you to do a very solid install. Ditto your factory blank. So if you must have the factory blank for an N70 Hilux, if you get on Redarc and most websites, you won't see one. You'll say, I want the factory blank for an N70 Hilux. It won't come up, but you can get a factory blank for a 70 series Land Cruiser, and it's exactly the same for the Hilux. It'll also, if you're interested, it will also fit a 100 series Land Cruiser. So the factory blank will fit 100 for a 70 series Land Cruiser, will also fit N70 Hilux and 100 series Land Cruiser. So if you must have the blank, you can do it then. But all it is the blank that you're going to have to pop out anyway, with a hole drilled dead center and a little hole at the top for orienting top. That's all it is. For 10 seconds and a drill bit, well, maybe you do have to find the center, but a minute on the drill press, oh my goodness, like, you don't need that. And in most cars, you're going to pop the factory blank out anyway. Just drill the damn hole. It will be far faster. So if you're installing a Redarc TowPro Elite V3 on a N70 Hilux, I wouldn't buy the loom if I was you, and I wouldn't buy the factory blank. Now, you may disagree with me. You might have to speed it up, make it easier, whatever. Fair enough. But waste of money as far as I'm concerned. But it's almost universal. I haven't found a video. I've watched a bunch of videos on YouTube and haven't been able to find someone who's doing a review of the Redarc TowPro Elite who hasn't recommended the factory loom. Which you can go, oh, well, maybe I'm the only dissenting view. And then you realize that they were given the TowPro Elite V3 and the loom. I'll say thank you very much to Redarc for providing my TowPro Elite V3 and all of my loom and my blanking plate. Makes it really, really simple. This is a great product, and it is a great product. I really like the TowPro Elite V3. That's why I fitted one. But if you have got a bit of swag, stuff we all get, or stuff that some people get, I didn't get given this. I bought this. So no reason to lie to you. If Redarc's just given you, $500 worth of swag, you're probably not going to be knocking them in a hurry. The product's good, fair there for them to say Redarc's product is good, but they're going to tell you to buy the loom as well, because they're not going to knock that, and your factory blanking plate, waste of time. a complete waste of time. So so anyway, but that seems to be the consensus view, and I disagree for what it's worth. But the TowPro Elite V3 is a good product. So how do you install it? I've mounted mine down here, so your gear stick, you know, I'm left-hand dominant, so having it there. You could also put it on this side if you wanted to, but that seems to make sense to me, to have it there if I need access to it. That's pretty central. But as I said, you've got some blanking plates here, or because it's just a hole drilled, you could put it there. You could put it up here on your or either side of your instrument cluster. There's enough room under there to mount it. You know, just find a place where the switch block from behind will fit. Stick it in there, bam. But that seems to work fine for me. So that's where it's mounted, nice and easy to get to. So the wire in this is pretty easy. If you've got, this is the Project 6-seater, so no center console, so it's just got a trim piece here, which is out because I'm still doing work on this thing. You know, putting some additional accessories in here and making it a little bit nicer to drive. So the trim panel's out at the moment, but just pulled the trim up and then ran it through there. You can pop all these blanks out, and I found you can maneuver it. You can get up here behind it. It's pretty easy to run the wire in there. I've got the unit itself mounted on the passenger side. There's your computer is up there, and I've just got mounted it next to that. Nice and easy place to mount with a bit of double-sided, really good quality double-sided tape, and then a zip tie around it, keeping it nice and solidly mounted. It does need to be solidly mounted, and now I do say I've got a zip tie around it, but I'm relying on my high industrial strength double-sided tape to hold it in place, and then I've just got the zip tie just to back it up. But do not zip tie it to a loom or somewhere where it's going to vibrate around. It does need to be rigidly mounted, which mine is. There's no problems with there, and it's a system I've used on my old N70 Hilux, and it's lasted the duration of the vehicle, so I'm not too concerned about that vibrating or giving me any trouble. But that's where I've got it mounted. You've got a factory grommet with room to put your wires through on the passenger side, so you just stick a bit of wire through, tape your wires through, pull them back through, nice and easy. Your blanking grommet with your wiring loom going through it. On one side it looks like an extension in rubber tube that's ready to go to run your additional wires. Thank you, Toyota, for doing that. And you can just run your wires down there, then down along the fender to your battery terminal. Earth is underneath the dash. There was a 10 mil bolt thread there that wasn't used, and I've just done it there. And then to go down the back, I actually went out through the firewall with the positive, and then I've run it down to the back of the vehicle, encased in split tubing, and then plugged in at the back where my where the tow plug is. So pretty simple, not a complicated install. That's all it is. You do need a fuse, so you'll need a fuse. If you don't buy the kit, you'll need a fuse. You'll need some additional wire. You'll need maybe a little bit to get to your positive battery. I did just need not much, but just a little bit to get me there. And then you'll need some wire to go down the back to your tow plug. Black is the positive that goes to the battery, and then red and blue go down the back. If you want to keep everything looking, the same wiring colors, so you know what it is down the back, you'll need some red, some blue, and some black. The white will be the earth, and you'll do that underneath the dash. Pretty simple, not too complicated. You'll knock it out in an hour. Things are easy to get to in the N70 Hilux. If you've got an auto, you've got a bit of extra stuff, and some of the later model SR5s, you've got some additional stuff under the passenger side that you'll have to maneuver around because it's the workmate. There's bugger all under there because it's a bargain basement model. You can. I have on my old Hilux had a center console. You can get back here without taking the console out. What I did in my old Hilux is pop those with a little fine screwdriver, pop those out and make it fine, because this plastic marks really easy, and if you're a fusspot like me, if you put marks in all of it. So what my preference is to reach behind and pop it out with my finger so I don't put any marks, but you can get it from the front with a little screwdriver. Maybe put some electrical tape on there if you're worried about making marks. Pop your blanks out, run a bit of wire, poke it down into the passenger footwell, tape on your wire, and then it's got a wire and a plug, and you can pull that back through, and then pull that through your hole, clip it into your switch and your blank, and then click it back in. Installed, nice and easy there. Plenty of room in the footwell to get around and mount it to the sidewall, to the side of the car, to your pillar. You can mount it to the firewall. Lots of places under there to mount it, and then run your wires through the through your firewall. Plenty, and then I've run it down the back to the tow bar plug, which is on the left hand side chassis of the vehicle. Pretty simple, as I said, encased in split tubing, and then just have some zip ties to zip it to, there's some places you can put it in your factory mount and feed it through your factory mounts that are running down there anyway. But places you can't, zip tie it in place, wire it in, and you're ready to go. So good product. I am a fan of it. There's plenty of reviews on there, so I won't review it any more comprehensive than that, other than it's a really good product. I really like it. But do you need the blank plug? No, you don't, in my humble opinion. And do you need the harness? No, you don't, not in my opinion. I reckon you can do without it with just a bit of extra wire, some split tubing and some zip ties, and I think you'll comprehensively install it in not too much time at all. So hope this was useful for you. Thanks for watching.